Hello, and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, Jay. We're all doing really well today. It is, where are we? 6th of June. I hope we're all doing really well today. Weather in the UK is supposed to be another scorcher today. It's kind of a bit of like there's no breeze. You might be able to hear my fan, but I literally have to have it on because it's so hot in here. Now, I tried to do the show last night. I had this thing where I don't really want to just do shows for the sake of it, because otherwise you're going to end up contradicting, and there really isn't a lot happening. So I wanted to do a show last night. I did start to do the show, but YouTube decided to screw me over, and so I thought I'd do the show this morning. So whatever we're doing today, so far, there isn't a lot of news to bring, other than I thought that's a really good opportunity, I guess, to give an opinion on what's been happening so far. The Mbeumo deal that's dragging on now for 5 weeks. I think that whoever we got in charge, just unbelievable how terrible they actually are. And then maybe look at one or two other things that are in the news and the probability of these things happening. So Brentford have held firm, and I have to say I take my absolute hat off to Brentford on the basis that they seem to have got their price. Now, we've spent 4 to 5 weeks haggling a club of our size, billions and millions of fans, and we basically step up to whatever they want to do, and it's just unbelievable, really. And there's a comment there in the chat, and I actually think I agree with you. I will come back to that, but just try to make a point about this transfer is that taking 5 weeks, and I know loads of people are talking about this, and I think you can have an opinion, right? So there's a couple of opinions on this. Number one is we need to get our business done. The reason why we need to get our business done early is because the last 12 years we don't get our business done. They're not in there for pre-season, and we have an awful season. There's only been maybe 1 or 2 seasons where we finished 2nd and 4th, whereby we've done okay. Now, last season was an absolute shambles, and yet again we are not getting our players in on time. Now, I say this because it's so important that we nearly went down last year. I don't think people seem to realise. I know the fact that we didn't, but thank you for the like on the video there. It does really mean a lot. And if you do get an opportunity to like and watch the video, all the likes and the things like that really help. Is that we need to get these players in, and Mbeumo is that typical deal that we always do. So we need to bear in mind that we need to sell to buy. Now, I've done a video on the PSR thing. It's just a really light one. We could talk about it for absolute hours. Now, from a PSR perspective, we're okay. So you're going to see these reports out there about PSR. I say that we're actually okay, and people don't understand why we never get fines and why we're okay for PSR. So the reason why we are okay for PSR is because we fudge our books. We basically have 2 companies. We have an offshore Seychelles, I think it is, or Cayman Island account, and we have a UK account. So what we do is we funnel income back and forth. So for PSR, we actually look okay. So this is why we never get done, because we're very good accountants, because ultimately we are a business. So then what that means is that we're under the illusion, and this is why people don't know how much cash we got, is because of what we do. Now, we don't actually have a lot of cash, or we need to sell to buy. So the Mbeumo deal is concerns me so much is because we take so long to do deals. Now, irrespective of whether we have cash or not, it's the length of time it takes us to do these deals. So think about this. It's taken us 4 to 5 weeks to do this one deal, and we need to get rid of. We do need to get rid of 4 players. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that. There's a video on there, and we can talk about that. But we need to get these deals done. And I'm so bored. I'm so bored of having to wait around for 4 to 5 weeks for us to save 2 or 3 quid. And then what we then do is that we then go up to the club price. And again, we've not had our pants pulled down in terms of what the selling club wants, because I think they're completely right. I mean, this player is an absolute unit. He's an absolute beast. And Mbeumo is an absolute beast. If you watch anything of this player, in my opinion, I'd always look at a winger as kind of like smaller and light. Mbeumo is an absolute beast. And I love the transfer. I love what we're trying to do. This is not the point. I think we've done the right thing, but we can't be slow. We have to get these plays in because we need them in to have a really good start to the season. So he's going to get over the line. Apparently, we've agreed terms. We've agreed terms with the club. Now we're arguing over. We seem to argue at every single point of the transfer. This is now how we structure the payments, and so Brentford are within their rights to ask for a particular way for this to be paid, but we are haggling, taking weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, I have two theories on this. Number one, it suits us down to the ground because it means it pushes the new financial year over to July the 1st, which is what we're trying to do. So we hold up all these other deals so we can just push it all the way to the end of the window. So again, we don't have to pay two sets of players. So we don't have to pay new players. We don't have to pay old players at the same time. So we want to sell to buy. We also want these players out the door so we can not pay them. This is not how big clubs are run. You do have to speculate to accumulate on these things, and the reason why is because you need these players. Have confidence, and the problem is we don't have confidence. The reason why we don't buy players before we sell is because we don't have the confidence in our assets, our players, or ourselves to be able to sell and to do these deals. And this is why. So it's so boring again. So if this deal needs to get done by the end of this week, so we can move on to selling the players. Now, obviously, we all know who these players are. I don't necessarily want to go over and rehash all that. The videos are there on that, but this is now where we need to start really seeing some actions because we're going on tour. And I really want to be proved wrong. This is not a case of. I do come across at times of being a moany old man, but that is because I've seen this before. No, I'm of an age whereby I've seen this in our pomp. I've been supporting this club since 1986, 87. So I'm a little bit older than a lot of you guys, and I've seen this behave. And what I will do is I will talk about comparatives to the older team. And the reason is because we've lost that. We need to get back to that. So for us to be successful, we need to get back to doing what we used to do, but in a newer version, because times do move on. But that core mindset, the core of who we are, has to maintain, and we have to look back at the past. And in the 90s team, again, there we looked back at the Busby Babes to have a legacy to move forward. And this is what we need to do. Again, we need to look back how we did things, who we are. We are one of the world's, if not the world's biggest club, and we need to start behaving like that. Mine over. Now, going forward, I'd love to know again. So there's a comment in the chat about the players that we like. So the Gyökeres move, and I completely agree. I absolutely 100% agree on this because I think this player is an absolute unit. I think he is an absolute beast. He's 37 goals, and the reports are Šeško is the Arsenal player that they want. For the life of me, if we get him, so Gyökeres, if we get him, it's pure luck, right? I absolutely love this player. He is an absolute. I can't describe. The only way that I can describe the Gyökeres deal to me, and again, it depends on what of an age you are. is the Ruud van Nistelrooy deal, right? So I remember being about 18 or so, and the year before he's smashing in goals, and he did his knee, okay. And I was just like, oh my god, this is like he was perfect, and you just knew. I don't know how I knew, and you don't know how you know, but there are certain players that you just know that are good players. And we came in for him, and I had no doubt, irrespective of because he did an ACL. I don't know. At least I think it was. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the injury doesn't matter. You just know a player is going to be good, and he transformed us. He was that when we came off the back of Dwight York and like Andy Cole. They were kind of sort of older strikers. They were that kind of older school strikers. To give York his due, he was kind of an in between. He was kind of an old school striker, but he was also had that kind of new little bit of flair to him. Ruud van Nistelrooy was completely new, an absolute new kind of striker, like a modern striker who could not only stay in the box and get goals, but he could also run. There was a game against Spurs, and he literally ran through from like the halfway line. And so Gyökeres is that new striker. I've no doubt in my mind that he will come to us and he will score us 25 goals. I'm absolutely. You can call me out on that. You can say whatever you like. I'm convinced that if he comes to us, so this is what I do not understand why other people, other clubs are not looking at this. Arsenal, I just think would be absolutely crazy not to go for this striker. I think he is an absolute superstar. I think he's world class right now. Depending on what we do to him, but he's got the mentality to drive that team forward, and particularly with that front three. If we could get that, I think that will be an absolute amazing. Goalkeeper Anana does need to go. I absolutely agree with that. I think so. Martinez, I think for me right now, I think for price, I think if we could get that price down to 25 million, I think that would be a steal. He's 32, 33 years old. To have a World Cup, Premier League proven, agile, he's got the personality, and to play in goal for United, I can't express this enough. You need the personality. Sometimes personality in the wrong way, but you need the ability along with being a presence, and that is what he does have. So I would absolutely agree. Take him in a heartbeat. Rios, one of the stars, actually, I think, of the Club World Cup. I don't know much about this player, but from what I have seen of him, he absolutely fits everything that Amrin would want. He goes across the ground extremely well. He's agile. He's defensive. I think that would be that's an obvious deal to do, in my opinion. And I don't think United can do these obvious deals. It would take too long, and I'd love this player. I think I love the idea of this player from what I've seen of him so far. I don't want to get into that World Cup trap whereby you see a player and then you go, oh, he's going to cost us 25 to 30 million, and he's not that great. But a lot of people, from what I've seen now and heard, have mentioned this player, and I think maybe if we could do that deal, I think that would be absolutely amazing. Vlahovic, if he was the only option and it was a good price, then I wouldn't necessarily be adverse to somebody like Vlahovic, on the basis that if it was a choice between him up front or a Xerxes up front. Now, I like Xerxes. I do. Even when fans were getting on his back last season, I absolutely thought that you could just see glimpses. And I think the reason why fans were getting on his back last year was because of the frustration of the team. And if you actually watched him, some of the things that he did, that you could tell he's big, he's quick, he sets the play. He's not a striker. So rather than seeing Xerxes up front, I'd rather have a Vlahovic, even though I think there are better options out there. I'd rather take a cut price Vlahovic, maybe 25 million. I don't know if that's or a loan deal. I don't want. I'm not. I'm not the biggest fan of the player. I might be proved wrong on that, but I'm not the biggest fan. So I do think there are other options other than a Calvert-Lewin. So one of my biggest fears is United go for one of these cheap deals like a Vardy. Jamie Vardy, can you imagine now? What, 38, 39? I can just see it. I can just see that that's the type of deal that we would do, or a Calvert-Lewin because they're free. And I just absolutely 100% would absolutely that would destroy me. So Vlahovic, I think if that was an option and we can get our options that we wanted to get, I'm not adverse to that. So Luis from Juventus. Now that's an interesting one. I actually think that's a really, really good shout, to be honest with you. Because I think even though he's been injured, I think that if he can maintain fitness, I liked him when he played for Villa. I thought it was a shame that he left. So I actually want to be opposed. I think he's about 28. The value there really is not the value in what can we sell him for. The value here is what can he do for the team, and if he stays fit, I think that would be a cracking signing, particularly if we can get him at a good price. So these sorts of deals, I'm not adverse to these deals, but they have to be at the right price. They've got to be. And when I say that, immediately I think about the right price. This is not a case of we need to spend weeks on this. We look at a price and go, this player really hasn't played, and he needs to be at a 15 to 25 million price. That's what they've been doing to our players. So this is what we need to do, and then we need to quickly move to the next target. We need to identify players that can add the value, make us better than last season, but then quickly see if we can get these deals done. And I'm just not under that impression that we can get this done. I think Fofana is a pipe dream. I'm not against this player at all, but I just don't think there's much time talking about this, because again, it's an obvious deal that I don't think that we can do. And other than that, really, I think we are. I just don't know any other. I'm not hearing any other United deals that are out there at all. Which does this mean now that we're not going to do any buying, and all we're going to do is we're going to be selling our players? Now, a lot of the content that I've seen, and I do consume, and I do watch what other people do. I do not know how other people can produce 3 videos a day on basically the same regurgitated stuff. I try to do 1, maybe 2, if there is anything to say, or if I just want to moan about something, which I do quite a lot. And that's not because I'm not positive about the team. I want this team to do well. I want us to finish first. I want us to be the best team that we can be again. But we can't let this ownership let up for a second, because the moment that we do, the moment that we don't have these conversations, and this is what we need to be doing, having these conversations. What you hear me say, okay, is my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right. Doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It's an opinion. And I'd love you guys to come here and have a different opinion to some of the other content out there. As long as you're nice in terms of friendly, I'm happy to entertain even the most outlandish thoughts, and I'm not going to turn people away. If you want to come here to just give me your wildest ideas. If you want to talk about the past, if you want to, I think it's always good to have comparison. And I mean, even if you don't want to talk about 90s, and you can even go back into the sort of like noughties. It's really interesting to have those chats and do those comparisons with modern players now, because if we don't talk about the past, and we can't learn about the future, as well. So this is how we progress. So I'd love you guys to come here. Welcome here. We can chat about whatever you like, really, football wise, of course, or anything else really. As long as you guys keep it nice and clean. I was going to talk about something else. Oh yeah, Lyon. So Lyon have just gone down because of their financial situation. Why the Premier League can't be more like this, but that's another topic of conversation. So there are going to be a load of deals from Lyon to do a cut price deal, and I wonder, and I don't know a load of Lyon players. So in the chat, if you do, I'd love you to suggest and educate me on some of these players. I'd love to know who you guys think would be an absolute great player that we should sign from Lyon. So United, this could be an opportunity for us to get signs. We need bodies, we need numbers. We've got a couple of, well, quite a few players who have gone now on free, and we need to replace those players. Lyon can now. There are a load of players. It's going to be like a fire sale. So we should now go and get some of these players, but I just don't know if we will. So I'd love to know if you know any players. Give some suggestions to these players in a chat as to what players, even if it's just a squad player. It'd be so cool to pick up some of these players on a deal, but can we? I really don't know. So just a short video there for those who've watched. Thank you so much. Thank you for the likes, the comment in the chat. You know, it really does mean a lot. You know, I am always will be authentic. Nothing is scripted. I will jump on, give you my opinions on the deals that we do. There's a fine line with me between coming on here and just saying stuff. I don't want to produce loads of videos a day. I could, but I'm not going to, because I don't think that adds value to the conversation. I think it confuses it. I think when you just put videos out there for the sake of views and clicks and whatever else, it just confuses it. You know, you in one breath we've got no money, in the next breath we're going to sign 2 or 3 players. I just think it doesn't add anything to the conversation, and I think it confuses the fan base. So after the event, if you see the content there, just feel free to come say hi. Suggest some stuff. I'm more than happy for topics to bring in those as well. So if you want me to talk about something, I'm more than happy to do that. Come and say hi. And yeah, if there's anything that does break in Mbeumo, if when that finally breaks, I'll do a video on that, and maybe some of the stats as well. So hopefully it's going to be a positive day. Have a wonderful day, whatever you do, of course. Let me know in the chat what you're up to, and hopefully I'll see you very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and take care. See you later.